Hello, everybody. Sorry that I couldn't be there with you today, but I did want to make sure that I was able to go through this memoir presentation with you, even though I'm not there. So let's go ahead and get started. You are going to be reading an excerpt from a memoir called I Am Malala today. And so, therefore, it's important to know what a memoir is before you read that excerpt. So, a memoir is not a biography. Because a biography is a story of a person's life told by someone else. And a memoir is told by the person themselves. So that is why it's not a biography. And it's also not an autobiography, which you might think it could be if it's written by the person themselves. But an autobiography is a person telling their life story. And a memoir is not a life story. And I'll explain that in just a few minutes. Basically, a memoir is not an autobiography, but it is a form of autobiographical writing because the person whose story it is writes the story themselves, right? So a memoir is really just the story of a specific time or theme or experience of a person's life. An autobiography tends to go through more of a person's life and includes basically their whole life story from start to kind of where they're at now in their life. But a memoir is just a specific time of their life or a specific event or experience that they had. And it's not going through their whole life. A memoir is a written factual account of someone's life, which means that parts should not be fictionalized, it should not be made up, it should stick to things that actually happened to that person. And the word itself actually comes from a French word which means memory or to reminisce. So if that helps you to remember what a memoir is, it's really about a person's memories. So, what are the elements of a memoir? And this is also how you help to distinguish it from an autobiography. So, the first big one is that, like I mentioned, a memoir covers only a specific part of the person's life, not most of their life, which is what an autobiography would do. Memoirs can be about famous people, people from the past, historical figures, and a memoir can be written by an everyday person, someone who's not famous or well known, right? A memoir can move around in time, which is different than an autobiography because autobiographies tend to go in chronological order and memoirs don't have to. It can also be written at any point in a person's life, which again makes it different from an autobiography. And it focuses on emotional truths rather than just facts about what happened to the person. You are going to learn about the person, but also about the experiences that they had. You're going to learn about their personal thoughts and feelings, and really what the event or the experience that they're writing about, how did it affect their feelings? How did it affect their life, their viewpoints on life? How did it change them? It's going to be deeper than what you might get with a biography, which is someone just writing about a person's life from start to finish. You might not get all of those personal thoughts and feelings. And because it's a memoir written by the person themselves, you are going to see the first person point of view, the I, the me, the we. One thing to mention, though, is that there are times when someone will assist someone with writing their memoir. This can happen if someone has a story to tell, but they might not be the strongest writer. In order to not discourage them from sharing their story, they might outline it, provide journals, diary entries. They'll provide all their personal thoughts and feelings through interviews. And someone who writes professionally for a living will oftentimes help someone to write their memoir so that it can be published for people to read. Authors of memoirs often talk to their readers. They tend to be more informal with that and use informal language. They are mostly sharing their personal feelings and how those feelings attach to events and experiences that they're sharing. They are recalling actual events, like I mentioned before, and they're really emphasizing the reactions that they had to those events. they're going to share how those experiences change their attitudes and their lives, right? Why would someone write a memoir? There are many reasons why people would write a memoir, but these are some of the main ones. The person might feel that they have an important story to tell. Maybe they are the sole survivor of a disaster or have been treated badly by someone or something. Maybe they have been misrepresented in the press. For example, someone who's famous, a celebrity. Maybe they didn't get a chance to share their viewpoint of what really happened. Or maybe someone worked for a celebrity and they have memories of working for that celebrity and how they, what that experience was like and their thoughts and feelings on that. And people can also write a memoir for future generations. Maybe they're struggling through something and want others to learn from their experiences. Maybe they want future generations to do better. And sometimes people do this to document their success, their maybe rags to riches struggle, their journey from someone who was unsuccessful to someone who became successful. Both inspirational and interesting, everyone likes to read how people triumph in the face of adversity. So a lot of memoirs tend to have that theme. And oftentimes people write a memoir as a form of therapy. Writing or talking about their feelings and past events can be an excellent way to work through them in their head and find some peace and resolution. And sometimes people don't often have the thought that they're going to share their memoir with others, but sometimes they write something that is so good and they feel vulnerable, of course, enough to share that with a greater audience. And sometimes, again, through writing, through therapy, they realize they have something really good here and they can share what they've gone through with other people who might be experiencing similar things to help them, right? And sometimes people write a memoir just to remember. Writing a memoir can help to unlock memories. When you really kind of go through your past life and past events, you really think about all the details. It helps you to unlock some of those memories that you might have forgotten. And as a result, it can help people to understand themselves better, especially through their childhood or early, kind of time period of their life. And it can also preserve memories and life experiences that they don't want to forget or to be forgotten. Sometimes people write a memoir and then they pass it on to their family members so that their life, in certain moments of their life, those big experiences that they went through, can be shared with their family and for future generations. Um, because if we don't tend to recall these events, sometimes they do just become forgotten, and sometimes people don't want that to happen. These are examples of memoirs that have been published in recent years and in past years. You might recognize some of the covers of these books. And this one right here, the I Am Malala memoir, that's what we're taking a look at today. We're reading part of a chapter from I Am Malala. So, why do people read a memoir, right? Why would people go to the bookstore and pick up one of these? Basically, memoirs allow us to see perspective outside of our own and to teach us empathy and compassion to see how other people dealt with things and their thoughts and feelings on it. And it helps us to broaden our knowledge and, just of the world and different cultures and human experiences, and just to make us hopefully better human beings in the long run. And memoirs are usually inspiring and empowering to people, especially when a lot of these deal with facing adversity, which most people deal with in their life. So I wanted to just recap here. Obviously, if you're watching this Ed Puzzle, you looked at the agenda and you saw that the Ed Puzzle was the first thing that you were supposed to do today. So I'm just reminding you that after this Ed Puzzle, the next thing that you would do is to open up the Malala background presentation to learn more about the author before we read part of her memoir. I have some follow-up questions after you go through the presentation. And then from there, you're going to open up the I Am Malala excerpt and you're going to read through the text. You're going to click right here on the link. This will open up a vocabulary and comprehension help presentation. You do need to click on this link up at the top to help you to go through words that are in the text that are going to be a little bit challenging that you probably don't have prior knowledge about. So you'll notice that when you read the text, certain words are bolded. The bolded words mean that they appear in this presentation to help you to have a better understanding of what you're reading. After you've looked at these two things, there are some questions that you're going to answer. And then after that, the last thing that you would do for classwork today is a classroom companion response that you're going to write. There's a link in Google Classroom for you to do that. And then you can work on your IXL skill for the week. And finally, you could read your book if you have time left over. All of this should be completed during the class period, which means that you just want to go ahead and get on to the next step of today's lesson.